What is going on, you guys? Welcome to my full card breakdown for UFC 319. We got a great card this weekend. A lot of close fights, a lot of live underdogs. Should be some tough ones to call, but should be a great card to watch. I've got a plus almost 500 parlay this weekend that I really like. I'll tell you guys about that in this video. But I'm super excited for this card. Should be a great one. And yeah, let's get into it. So first up, let's do a parlay lock of the week recap. Last week, we had Jocelyn Edwards and Anthony Hernandez. Absolute domination. When I place this lock of the week, I expect it to be that level of dominance. That's what I'm shooting for. It's not just about the ROI or the record. I want it to be the most stress-free, dominant bet you can make on the card. Brings my total ROI up to 70.92%. Also makes me 4-1 in my last 5. I really like my lock of the week this week. Also got that plus 500 parlay that I really like. So let's get into it. First fight of the night, we got Karine Silva versus Dione Barbosa. I don't know about this fight. I don't really care about this fight, to be honest. I'm going to go with Karine Silva. She's a wrestler. Dione Barbosa's got kind of bad takedown defense. Not confident in this fight. Don't really care about this fight, to be honest. Next up, Bryan versus Nursulton Ruziboev. Tough fight to call. Bryan gets hurt a lot in his fights, rocked by guys he really shouldn't be getting rocked by, but he's fought actual competition. The first 40 fights in Ruziboev's careers were against absolute cans. Battle's fought the way tougher competition, but he's shown that he struggles against these long, rangy guys. Ruziboev's massive, huge frame, long reach. I also am not that high on Ruziboev just because he hasn't even defended a takedown yet in the UFC. He only had 35 strikes in 15 minutes against Dustin Stolfus. I think it was a terrible performance. I think Battle's performance against Randy Brown was terrible. I don't think he won that fight. Not super high on either of these guys. I'm going to go with Ruziboev. I think he can get a knockout. Battle gets hurt way too often by guys that aren't that good and aren't nearly as long and rangy as Ruziboev. So I'll go Ruziboev by KO, but I think this fight can go either way. And then we got Edson Barbosa taking on Drakkar Klose. I get it, Edson Barbosa is really old. He's taken a lot of damage in his past few fights, but I think even an old, much slower Edson Barbosa can take out Drakkar Klose. He's still super dangerous, super fast. He's fought much higher competition lately. Also, these Brazilians just age different. You kind of have to subtract 10 years off of their age just because it's in their genetics just to be built different. I'm going to go with Edson Barbosa. I think his takedown defense should be good enough. I don't think Drakkar Klose is going to be throwing enough, and I think Edson's going to be landing with a lot more damage and power. Next up, we got Chase Hooper versus Alexander Hernandez. The more I watch tape on this fight, the more I hate this fight for Chase Hooper. But he needs to get the takedowns in this fight, and I don't like that. Hernandez is definitely going to be better on the feet, faster, rangy guy, especially for his height. I just think Hernandez has to fight a perfect 15 minutes. I don't think he can get taken down a single time. I think Hooper's good enough on the ground where if he takes him down, he can get a sub pretty easily. I think Hooper's going to struggle more getting this fight to the ground than actually getting a sub while on the ground. And then we got Jessica Andrade versus Loopy Goodinez. Loopy Goodinez is one of the least trustworthy people you can put your money on. She should be able to get this fight to the ground. She should be good enough on the feet to not get knocked out, which probably means she's just going to stay on the feet and eat massive shots from Andrade and get knocked out because that's how Loopy Goodinez fights. I'm going to lean Loopy Goodinez. At this point in her career, she should be able to handle this. Would not shock me in the slightest if Jessica Andrade got a knockout. And then we got GM3 versus Michal Oleksiejczuk. Michal gets knockouts very early, tends to gas out, and then when he gasses out, has a bad habit of getting choked out. GM3 has made a career off of weathering a storm, almost getting knocked out and then getting a sub. If you're picking GM3 by sub or Michal by KO, both make complete sense to me. I think Michal can get a KO because I think he's smart enough if he drops GM3 not to just punch him in the arm 30 times like Edmund did. But GM3 getting a sub after almost getting knocked out wouldn't surprise a single person. And then we got Bobby Green versus Diego Ferreira. I think Diego Ferreira is very overrated. I think he's so overhyped because of his durability and his knockout power. Against Grant Dawson, he looked like shit, was losing all the exchanges on the feet. Looked like Grant Dawson was more likely to get a KO than he was. He's super slow, throws out this heavy, slow body kick. Horrible striking defense, doesn't move his head at all. He looks slower and slower each fight he has. I think people like him so much because of his performance against Ruziboev. We kind of see now that Ruziboev, especially with that insider information from Renato Moicano, that Ruziboev just doesn't train hard, doesn't put in the effort in the gym, which explains why his gas tank is so horrible. After the first round, Ruziboev had nothing left, was essentially just a punching bag. Even with that, it still took Ferreira until the third round and being on top, landing ground and pound, in the last 10 seconds to finish that fight. And then before that, against Michael Johnson, Ferreira was losing every second of that fight, every single exchange on the feet. I think Michael Johnson has a very similar style to Bobby Green, super fast hands, great straight punches, uses head movement to slip punches rather than keeping his hands high. He was absolutely dominating that fight until he got one punch flatlined by Diego. Obviously the chin is a concern with Bobby. He's got a lot of tread on the tires, especially with his last few fights. But this is a massive jump down in competition for him. Every person that Bobby has lost to would absolutely smoke Diego. As long as he hasn't slowed down a ton from all the damage, his reaction time hasn't gone to shit, he should be far better on the feet, way faster, way cleaner striking. I expect this fight to look pretty similar but less dominant to the Jim Miller fight at UFC 300. As long as the reaction time and the speed hasn't completely gone in the toilet, I think it should be a pretty easy fight for him. I really like him in this spot. I'm going to go Bobby Green by decision, and he's actually the first leg in that plus 498 parlay that I have. I'll tell you what the other leg is when I get there, but I think people are overrating Diego's wins, and I think they're underrating Green's losses. So give me Bobby Green by decision. Now, first fight on the main card, we got Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. I really like Asakura in this spot. A lot of Tim Elliott's success comes from being gritty, being able to grind it out with his opponent's stuff takedowns. Kai Asakura is not going to want any of that. He's going to only want to strike way bigger, way faster, way cleaner striking. Huge step down in competition compared to Pantoja. I don't know why he's fighting somebody as low as Elliot, especially because he had a good performance against Pantoja. On the feet, he was looking good. He was actually stuffing the takedowns, but Pantoja is just too good and too creative of a grappler to not take his back. I hate that he only has one fight in the UFC to base our opinions on, but if he looks anywhere as close to that good in that fight, he should be able to handle Tim Elliott pretty easily. Give me Kai Asakura, either by KO or decision. And then we got Jared Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page. This fight on paper seems like it'd be a great fight. I think it's going to be really boring. MVP's entire style is that karate stance, has super flashy strikes and kicks that look really great in a highlight reel, but then when you actually watch his fights, you realize it's 4.5 minutes of just staring. I think these odds are kind of wide. MVP's kind of gotten tailor-made matchups because he's 36 years old, coming from Bellator. Cannonier also thrives in a 5-round fight, and this is only 3 rounds. I'm going to go MVP by decision because he's so low output. Cannonier, though, has gotten rocked a lot lately in his fights. Eventually, that chin is going to crack. I don't think MVP's volume is nearly enough to do it, and when he hurts people, he focuses more on throwing something else that's flashy to get a highlight reel rather than doing what's best to just to finish the fight. I'm going to go MVP by decision. Wouldn't be the craziest thing if either of these guys got a knockout. And then we got Geoff Neal against Carlos Prates. I really like Carlos Prates in this spot. I think these fighting nerds are special. It feels like a movie, like the Avengers or some superhero movie, with how there's 4 of these guys. They're all so nasty. All could easily be title contenders one day, and they're all are in different weight classes and back-to-back weight classes. You have Silva at featherweight, Mauricio Ruffi at lightweight, Prates at welterweight, and Caio Borraro at middleweight. Something about it is just so cool. I love their fighting style. I think they are nasty. There are a bunch of Brazilians who learned head movement. Clearly, the most lethal thing on the planet is when a Brazilian learns head movement. Obviously, there's a lot more to their striking than that, but they are the first Brazilians I've ever seen with head movement. Geoff Neal's a good striker. He's got heavy hands, really good footwork, but he's kind of shown us that this is the exact type of fight that he really struggles against. These long, rangy guys that he can't comfortably close the distance on. He actually does a good job of getting entries and closing distance, but he doesn't let his hands go. It's clear that you can see he's kind of worried about what's coming back his way. When he does let him go, it's only usually one punch at a time, unless it's in the pocket throwing wild hooks. He had some decent success against Shavkat, but Shavkat isn't as big, isn't as rangy. I don't think is nearly as good as a striker as Prates, and doesn't move his head one bit. Almost all of Geoff Neal's success comes from inside of the pocket. I think Carlos Prates is way too clean to get in those exchanges. Massive 78-inch reach, lightning fast hands, great head movement. I love the way that he uses his shoulders and his body to roll with punches and deflect them. His fight against Ian Gary, he looked like he started off slow. I don't know if that was because he was preparing for 5 rounds and was worried about the gas tank. Also, Ian Gary looked the best we've ever seen him. Usually Ian Gary's in the back foot counter striking. We've never really seen him lead the dance like that with such a high output. And Carlos Prates was still able to figure him out in the 4th and 5th, was like 1 or 2 punches away from getting a finish in that. When Geoff Neal fights guys that are this size, kind of makes me mad because I feel like he's not giving his best effort all the time. I think it's something like with the mental crutch that John Jones would talk about, where he would get blackout drunk a week before he fought so that in case he lost, he could kind of use that as a mental excuse as to why he didn't win, was because he didn't put in enough effort. I kind of see the same thing with Geoff Neal, at least that's what I think it is. Whenever he's fighting one of these long, rangy guys that he can't get the striking going, he seems to kind of just stop caring. Not really a sense of urgency, leaving a lazy jab out there, keeping his hands low, just walking towards his opponent in the last 2 minutes of the fight when he's clearly losing. And I think he kind of does that when he fights guys that are more skilled than him, so that when he leaves a fight, it's more, oh, I didn't put it all out there, I didn't give my best effort, versus I just got outclassed. I think this is a great bounce back win for Carlos Prates. I'm going to go Prates by KO, either in the second or third round. And then we got the co-main event of the evening, Lerone Murphy versus Aaron Pico. These are some of the craziest odds I've ever seen in my entire life. I haven't seen odds this crazy since Manon Fiorot was a plus 190 against Aaron Blanchfield, and even this I think is crazier than that. I don't understand how anyone is picking Aaron Pico. You're giving me a guy who has only ever fought Bellator level competition. His wrestling accolades are outside of MMA. I don't know how many times we have to see that wrestling accolades don't mean anything. Bo Nickal was a Penn State D1 wrestler and was getting ragdolled by Cody Brundage. Wrestling is a completely, entirely different sport. You are bent over head to head, grabbing the back of the other guy's neck. That never happens in MMA. MMA wrestling is entirely different. Look at last week. All anyone was talking about was Roman Dolidze, IBF champion, ABC Oceanic Jiu-Jitsu champion. Got fucking ragdolled. Didn't have a single moment of success in that fight. But his accolades. Oh, his jiu-jitsu accolades. I'm so sick of hearing about accolades. I think any competition outside of the UFC is not even remotely close to the level of the UFC. Watching tape on Aaron Pico, he's got really clean striking, good technique, a lot of speed. It's clear that he's probably UFC level, but there is such a big difference between being UFC level and taking on Lerone Murphy in your first ever UFC fight in a co-main event. This is a guy who has been talked about for a couple of years now as he should be fighting for the title. Undefeated in his entire career, undefeated in the UFC against dangerous, tried and true veterans like Barbosa, like Josh Emmett, and he's an underdog to a guy who has only ever fought Bellator competition. I get it, his striking looks clean. It's very easy for your striking to look clean when you're swinging on a heavy bag. When it's taking you 3 rounds to finish your best opponent, who's only 9-1, but you're gonna come in here and beat Lerone Murphy, I think Lerone Murphy absolutely dominates this fight. These odds seem way too good to be true. He's actually the other leg in that plus 498 parlay I have. The last time I placed a parlay like this was with Valentina and JDM in their title fights, and that hit. Hopefully we can do the same here, but I think Lerone Murphy dominates this fight. And then finally we got the main event, Dricus du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. I'm shocked to hear how high people are on DDP. First off, DDP has the strongest plot armor in history. I mean, Togi level plot armor, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. After he fought Darren Till or Whitaker, I can't remember which one, I had just accepted that it doesn't matter this guy's technique, it doesn't matter how tired he looks. He could be losing every second of a fight, and there would be a minute left in the round, and his opponent would just drop dead. That's how I look at this guy. I didn't think it was even possible for him to lose. I think that's kind of the aura that he gives off to a lot of these people. Because his style is so unique and so unorthodox, people completely negate looking at it and looking at holes that he has and how Khamzat can exploit them, just because in the past against guys that he should have lost or came super close to losing, he always pulls it off somehow. But I think the middleweight division is in a very weird spot where I don't think the top of the division is actually the true best of the division. I don't think Sean Strickland and DDP and Israel Adesanya are the best fighters at middleweight. I think Fluffy Hernandez, Nasruddin Imavov, Khamzat, Caio Borraro, those are the guys that I think are the true best in the division. They just haven't gotten a chance to fight at that top yet. I think the UFC knows this too. I think it's part of the reason why they were giving Adesanya undeserved title shot after undeserved title shot. They're trying to just milk these last generation of these fighters as much as they can. And the way DDP has success in his fight is by using durability and brute force just to outgrit his opponents. And his last 3 fights, Strickland and Adesanya, tailor-made matchups for him. Couldn't get better matchups for him. Adesanya, one of the biggest pussies to ever step foot in a cage, so easily can be backed down, breaks at the first bit of adversity he goes through, crumbles to any sort of pressure, can't handle anything when it's not just somebody staring at him and him just running away like he's playing tag. Against Strickland, not only did he fight him twice, so he knew what was going into the second time, he kind of exposed how to beat Strickland. If you just stay there, flat-footed, don't move, don't let Strickland back you down, he kind of can't really fight. So in a fight like that, being flat-footed and just not moving at all helps him out. Against Adesanya, the forward pressure, getting takedowns where he's practically falling into them. On top of that, I think DDP has crossed the line of confidence where it's now detrimental to him. And what I mean by that is that confidence, there's a very, very fine line between it helping you and it hurting you. You want to be as confident as possible so that you believe in yourself and you perform to your best ability. But there's a fine line where that confidence turns into delusion and then it starts to hurt you. And I think DDP has crossed that line where now he has gone from confidence to delusion. I'll give you a couple examples. He said multiple times that when he fights, he's not tired. His mouth is just open because he can't breathe out of his nose. You can't just say that you're not tired. It's like being pregnant and just saying you're not pregnant. It's not how it works. We see you're tired. We see your strikes are labored. You're throwing with less output. Your hands are going down by your hip after you throw. Your mouth's wide open. You're throwing slower with less power. Yes, you have incredible will. You have incredible grit, mental toughness through the roof to be able to just keep moving forward and never back down. Just because you keep moving forward and you don't let being tired stop you from throwing doesn't mean you're not tired. Khamzat is probably got the most explosive takedowns we've ever seen. Incredible ability to transition on the ground. The fact that people are taking his fight against a prime Gilbert Burns 3 years ago into consideration for this fight is insane to me. People will look at Khamzat at 170 where he had to cut an extra 15 pounds against prime Gilbert Burns, who was an absolute savage, where he was not even wrestling, just trying to outstrike with him. If people are going to take that into consideration, take DDP's fights 3 years ago into consideration. At the exact same time that Khamzat fought Gilbert Burns, not even 2 months later, DDP fought Brad Tavares, where he was beyond gassed out, getting takedowns where he's pulling Brad Tavares on top of him. There's been 2 years of Khamzat's striking improvements that we haven't even seen yet because of how quick his fight was against Whitaker. I think Khamzat's striking was already better than DDP's, and we haven't even seen the improvements in the past 2 years. We have seen DDP's improvements in his striking, and they're not that drastic. And in the Strickland fight the second time, so much of his success came from landing body kicks. Khamzat will snatch that leg so goddamn quick. I don't think Khamzat needs to get an early finish here. I think he's a better striker. I think he's going to have better cardio than DDP. People think DDP is going to weather the storm and then beat him by decision. If this was Fluffy Hernandez, yeah, totally valid argument. DDP doesn't have good cardio. And then he has to not only survive against Khamzat, but stuff all those takedowns and then not be tired after, when he's tired in every fight he has just from striking. I think Khamzat's going to be better everywhere. I think people are going to be shocked at how much better his cardio is. We see footage of him sparring and working on pads, and it's the fastest and cleanest and sharpest that we've ever seen him. So I'm going to go Khamzat, first or second round sub. DDP's plot armor terrifies me, but the other shoe's got to fall eventually. And that's going to do it for this full card breakdown. If you guys are still watching, thank you so much. It means the absolute world to me. I'm going to have the parlay lock of the week out either on Thursday or Friday, so please keep an eye out for that. Let me know what you guys think of these fights. A lot of close fights, a lot of live underdogs. If you guys have any feedback, suggestions, please leave a comment. Subscribe if you're new. If you haven't seen me before, go check out my parlay lock of the week on my social medias or on the shorts on this channel. Follow my social medias, Instagram, TikTok. I appreciate it so much. Can't wait for these fights, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.